It's May 2nd, 2015, and we want to know, did Huntress lead her high school debate team to victory by self-destructing every time a counterpoint was made?
Has Don Draper finally gone too far by figuring out a way to sell multicolored striped unitards to an easily swayed public?
It's all coming up next here on DCR.
This day, we rescue a world from mysticism and tyranny, and usher in a future brighter than anything we can imagine.
Up in the sky! It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's
The Strike Citizens Radio.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DCR. I, of course, remain your host, Sean Lamont, comic book reader extraordinaire, and I am joined, as always, by my cohort in crime, the eminence of comics, the
shambling husk that is.
Yes, the tired shell of a human being, Mr. Brian Klein.
Hey, Sean.
How's
it going? That's what I've got to say every week, right? I notice I say that every single week.
I know, but
whether I mean it or not.
Are you okay?
I'm doing all right.
We're recording on Free Comic Book Day, and we have both had pretty exhausting days. I mean, mine, I sat around the house all day, and I took Liam to the park.
Okay.
How about you? Just lounging about all day?
I was up till about 4 in the morning last night at a Free Comic Book night, and then I woke up at 7-ish this morning to go and do Free Comic Book Day until about 3,
Now-ish.
and then I came back and I, have been, taking notes and stuff, and now we're here and we're recording.
Yeah! High NRG.
Yep.
So,
everybody that I met at Free Comic Book Day, or any new listeners, hello. It was nice meeting you.
Yes, definitely. Welcome aboard. If you happen to be one of those new listeners, let me fill you in on what we do here, and that is we go over all of the books that came out from DC Comics. In this case, in these last couple episodes and moving forward the next couple, we're covering the Convergence event, the big 2-month Band-Aid cover-up while DC is moving offices from the East Coast to the West Coast. But there's some fun stuff going on. It's kind of a flashback into the past of DC Comics and everyone being mishmashed and smooshed together into one big battle royale. So we've been going over everything that's been going on there. But Brian,
Yeah.
in case people do not know, what should they be wary of moving forward?
Spoilers.
That's right, because we cover everything.
Yes.
Well, most everything. We cover the general overview. We do a 30,000 foot. I'm trying to pull it back because I'm looking at your face.
Then we occasionally outright lie because it's funny to us. Or mostly me. Mostly just to me.
Mostly Brian, but I try to call him on it, so you guys, by the end, should have a good gist of what happened this week in DC Comics. That's our goal, that's our plan, but since we do cover all those plot beats, storylines, and character developments, if you do not want your book spoiled, you should not listen ahead.
Until you read your comics.
Until you read them, at least. I know I had mentioned we were going to do questions today, but with you looking like crap warmed over, I think I'm just going to push that to next week. That'll be a nice halfway point, and then we'll cover those, and we have a couple Convergence things to go over that may actually be answered in this week's book. So, without any further ado, let us lunge forward into this week's books.
All right, Sean, I've got 3 books in a row to start us off. Okay.
It's the Brian Show.
Hey,
I knew you were going to be exhausted, so you couldn't put up a fight, so I just scheduled all of your books. You're actually doing all of them, every single title.
Every single one? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go take
So I get
a
to
nap.
just lie about the ones I didn't read? Awesome. That's going to be fun, especially with no sleep in me.
It'll line up quite nicely with the ones that you lie about that you did read.
Yep. All right, so we're starting off with Convergence number 4, where we're following our Earth 2 heroes as they try to save all of time and space from a living planet called Telos, who is working for an evil galactic brainiac.
Yeah. It's all of the domed cities. Brainiac went out there and was capturing cities right before their timelines or their Earths or their whatever was going to happen that was going to end them. All the reboots of DC Comics, all the books that were just short little one-shots that weren't going to continue on. They grabbed all these cities, threw them all on this living planet named Telos, and these Earth 2 people who just lost their planet got pulled there as well, minus the city. slackers, and they have been trying to survive or find a way out or a way to free all of these other cities. That's the general overview. See? That's an overview. That's what you do at the start before you just start going into the book.
Yeah.
That way anyone that just happened to listen to this episode knows what's going on.
Okay. So,
no mirth. No
yeah,
mirth.
Not today. All right, so Earth 2 Dick Grayson, when we last left him, he had just gotten his spine shattered, and he could not feel his legs. But Telos shows up and wants him to keep fighting. He wants to be his friend, so he does a little trick he learned from Earth Zero Steel and covers him with liquid metal.
Now I feel comfortable.
It's all the rage these days. So then he shows him all of the worlds that are fighting and how awesome it is. It shows the human spirit, even as numerous worlds die around him. Come on, Dick Grayson, I want you to be my favorite. Go win one for me. I can be your father figure. I'm pretty cool, aren't I?
I'm down with the hip lingo.
Meanwhile, Demos...
Are you kids smoking the grass still?
All right. So meanwhile, Demos from the Hollow Earth Warlord world, city, whatever you want to call it, of Skartaris, has taken the rest of the Earth 2 heroes into the savage land of Skartaris.
Skartaris.
Yeah.
All the dinosaurs are running around. It's like a land that time forgot.
Yes.
Bunch of castles and swordsmen and dinosaurs.
Vikings and axes, really big battle axes. So they are going to take out the Warlord and Shakira, because her breasts may be small and humble, but we should not confuse them with mountains.
What?
I had a friend in college who was super into Shakira, and I know way too much about her song lyrics from the time period.
That is a lyric from one of her songs?
Yes, though my breasts may be small and humble, please do not confuse them with mountains. I think something was lost in the translation there, but you know.
As well.
So, while the heroes take on Warlord and his army, Demos and Shakira sneak away underground. Demos pretty much flat out says, yeah, I'm super evil.
I have skulls in my motif.
Yes.
You guys didn't pick up on this?
No, you didn't?
I have skulls for knee pads.
I have an extremely pointy cape, skulls on knee pads, a lot of extra chains for no particular reason.
Pointy nose. I'm pretty much the archetype for villain here.
I didn't grow this goatee for nothing. So he takes out Animal Girl, who had followed him down underneath.
Yolanda Montez.
And confronts Shakira in front of the giant bubble of time heroes and time villains. I'm equal opportunity.
Sure.
So he takes out Shakira, uses his magics, with the CK at the end.
Okay.
Extra evil.
I thought there was going to be an X, like it was going to be extreme magics.
No. Yeah, and offers to free Galactiac from his T-sphere from Future's End. And if he does, Galactiac will give Demos anything he wants.
I shall grant you one boon, as long as it's related to shrinking a city into a small thing and putting it in a jar. Anything you can dream of, as long as it has to do with that.
Yes. Oh, how ironic that I wound up in my own small jar of my own, hoisted by my own petard.
A lot more stuff happening in this one, though.
Yeah.
As far as the second or third one, the last week, it seemed like it treaded in place a little bit, but it was the last of the setup as far as getting the people where they needed to be, all the pieces in place, and now this one seems to be paying off a little bit more as far as bringing in an actual escape hatch, maybe? A way for them to actually fight a living planet with all of the time people. Obviously, time seems to be a big thing on this planet. It's the one thing that it's all messed up since they have all these cities from different timelines and everything, so maybe there's some way they can actually do something with that. Before, it was just kind of like, okay, we're just going to get smacked around by this living planet and maybe watch some ESPN Telos and watch all the other people fight. On ESPN 8, it's, I don't know, Earth 53 with all the lamps. So this one I quite enjoyed a lot because we were getting some forward momentum.
All right, so we're moving on to the side titles, all the mini-series that are building up the greater world of Telos. So we're starting with Convergence Blue Beetle #1. It is taking place on the hub city of Earth 4. This is the all the Charlton Comics characters, the Charlton universe.
And it's their versions of them as well. It's not the ones that came over to DC, really.
Yeah.
It's before they came over.
These are the characters that would get bought out by DC and incorporated in with everyone else, and would eventually, analogs of them would be the Watchmen, etc., etc.
Because Captain Atom looks weird.
He looks very weird.
He looks really weird.
Really weird. So, a group of people who are living horribly under the dome are rebelling against the police, and they're so destitute they are forced to wear terrible multicolored striped jumpsuits.
Yeah,
and call themselves the Madmen.
They were like clown people. It looked like juggalos were taking over.
Yeah.
And just running.
First I thought it was like ragdoll, but then I realized, there's not 15 ragdoll.
No, they kept that to a 1 maximum.
Yeah, can't have more than one ragdoll. So reporter Vic Sage is on the scene, and he is covering the standoff between them and the police force / military that's being led by Nathaniel Adam, aka Captain Atom, and he decides the wisest choice to handle this
bunch of rioters,
this
looters,
dispute.
Angry at being oppressed.
Yeah.
What should they do?
Let's just fire a bazooka at them.
Well, that seems...
That's just logical.
That seems kind of oppressive, again. It might cause more issues down the line.
Yeah, so Vic Sage is like, oh, crap, send that to the news. I'll take complete,
ownership of the problems that'll happen.
Turns into the question, because if you got to ask questions, you got to have your blank face, even though they know who each other are.
It must be really weird to be a reporter, and every time you have to ask a question, you have to just like, oh, wait a second.
Hold on, let me set off my smoke bomb. Let me glue this thing to my face. Okay, all right, here we go.
What's the deal with the new traffic laws here?
Vic Sage, he gets all passive-aggressive about the riot act there, and then he tells him, oh yes, and also Blue Beetle wanted me to hand you this note. Can you go see him?
Do you like me? Yes, no,
maybe.
Check one.
Mm-hmm. I've got to put in maybe. So Blue Beetle, he goes and sees Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle says, hey, check this out. I've got this cool laser. I'm going to bust open this dome with this laser.
Yeah!
Presses a button. Pew! Nothing happens. But then suddenly Captain Atom suddenly gets his powers back. He's like, hey, what's up with this? This is great. I'm super again. And he goes and flies off in his terrible old Captain Atom costume.
It's so bad.
And he starts fighting a guy named Dr. Spectro, who also got his powers back, but they're the only ones. So the dome hasn't fully come down yet. And then suddenly Booster Gold shows up. And it might be his fault that their powers are back, because then he disappears just as Blue Beetle shows up, as he tends to do. And then everyone loses their powers. So Blue Beetle, Atom, and the Question meet up to try to figure out what's going on.
So it seems like this version of Booster Gold, this one from the New 52 that's being tossed around through time and everything. We've seen him in a couple places being tossed around through time. Matter of fact, I think next issue that we cover, we're going to get more in depth.
We're going to get a lot more
that.
into this, and I'm going to explain who's who and what not is going on.
But
here.
It seems like he's carrying almost a bubble around him of space-time, I guess, that opens people up to have access to their powers once again.
Yeah. So the dome has fallen, and these 3 relatively average Joes, well, 2 regularly average Joes and 1 nigh omnipotent super being, are going to have to fight someone else. And we don't know who yet.
Is it Dr. Spectro some more?
I don't know. I think it said at the beginning of the issue, but I forgot. I didn't write down who it was.
Fair enough. I really like Dr. Spectro.
He does look pretty, he does look like the most comic book supervillain ever, doesn't he?
And also, he was very, very smarmy where they were having the argument with Captain Atom and Booster Gold were arguing, and Booster Gold's like, man, you're really janky, and Dr. Spectro's like, I've been telling him that for years. I enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
The designs of the characters really
well drawn, though.
Oh yeah, it's not the art. It's the actual character designs from that day and age, and they're rough.
Yeah,
they're rough. I can understand if you grew up with that, but that looked like just someone just
even with the color limitations back then. That's still there's no excuse for some of that stuff.
Yeah, it was really, I don't know. Just throw a boa at him or something, and maybe if it'll stick. No,
yes.
Okay,
just Jesse Ventura him up a bit.
Just
that'll
throw
work.
a tutu at him. Maybe that'll stick. I don't know. Just random hodgepodge things and accessories hanging off of them.
More billowy sleeves. It'll work for a guy named Firestorm later.
But good. I enjoyed this one,
yes.
And it's part of the triumvirate that we're covering here that's kind of showing a much bigger picture when it comes to what they're doing with this convergence thing and how they're going to enact that escape hatch, maybe.
So it's a Convergence Booster Gold, number 1 next.
This one's
And
going to be hard to cover, I think.
I think I figured it out. Like, in my sleep-deprived madness, everything suddenly clicked.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. When I read it, it was a matter of, man, there's a lot of booster golds. How's he going to say this?
Yeah. Well, yes. So it's the confusing multiple booster golds continuing from the Future's End issue that I could not make heads or tails of.
Correct.
It's a continuation from a one-shot from a
Justice League International
previous
annual.
event. Yeah.
At the end of Justice League International.
No, during Future's End, the Future's End Booster Gold issue, that was covering this directly. Yeah.
Well, it was at the end of JLI when it ended its last issue. That's when he got tossed through time.
Okay.
When other Booster Golds showed up and said, "Holy crap, you're Superman and Wonder Woman hooked up. That's not going to work out at all. That's going to cause a lot of problems." And then both of them kind of got shot off into time and space. And then at the Future's End issue, we saw our Booster Gold from the New 52 got captured by Brainiac and was being tortured to tell him where the vanishing point was, their headquarters, and then being tossed through time and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, let's see if I can get there when we're doing this. Yeah. So, the New 52 Booster Gold has met up with Rip Hunter, who is the future son of the pre-Flashpoint Booster Gold.
Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm. And so they team up to save pre-Flashpoint Booster Gold, who is working for Argus, even though that's a post-Flashpoint creation, confusingly, and his sister Michelle, also known as Gold Star, from the Vanishing Point prison underneath Skartaris. So the very confusing Future's End issue was the pre-Flashpoint Booster Gold jumping around from city to city, not through time.
Yes.
Because all of his time traveling from the old continuity had built up his body with too much chronal energy, which is what is causing his current thing.
He's got time germs.
He's got the time germs.
Time germs. They're all over him. He sneezes, and people are like, "Ah, man, I just lost 5 minutes. You stupid time germs."
Time germs. They need to figure out how to save him, and so they escape from Deimos' lair and kind of fly around the planet Telos, and they see all the domes. And they accidentally wind up inside of the 31st century Metropolis dome and start fighting the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, because that won't be confusing more.
Yeah. So during the tussle, after New 52 Booster gives the business to Superboy, something fierce.
A little bit.
Suddenly, a pre-Flashpoint Booster disappears again, and Invisible Kid takes all the credit. I totally did something, guys. Oh, man, Invisible Kid. We couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, he's always there. Mm-hmm. It's like that Teen Titans Go episode with Beast Boy where he just sometimes paints an animal green and sends it out so he can just hang out.
That's one of my most favorite things ever.
Beast Boy, turn into a rhinoceros. Why are you just a bird sitting on the pole there?
Pre-Flashpoint Booster disappears, and he winds up in a version of Metropolis that is inhabited by pre-Infinite Crisis Blue Beetle, his best friend that died. We finally got to the fireworks factory after, about 10, 15 years?
Yeah, a little bit. They finally get to sit down and have a heart-to-heart because obviously this Blue Beetle doesn't realize he dies very, very soon.
Yeah.
And this Booster Gold is quite well aware of how bad that event shook him to his core afterwards. I mean, it really tore him down afterwards, and he never really recovered from it fully, so...
Yeah.
Maybe second chances.
Yeah.
Hey,
again,
buddy.
it's telling those stories that you can't tell now,
yep.
and it's tying up I love the Jeff Johns, Dan Jurgens,
Who?
Booster Gold, Dan Jurgens.
Thank you.
Yes. Booster Gold series from post Infinite Crisis. So it's nice to see, even though I never finished it, it's nice to, see some of that stuff get tied up in the end.
Sure. I thought it was very nice that they are pulling in a lot of strands that were just left dangling from pre-Convergence even, as far as what was going on with Booster Gold in those one-shots. Whether it was planned that way or not, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. They're pulling it in and tying it off quite nicely into the event, I think. So. And
sorry, this is totally one of those tough beans if you're a new reader issues.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Unless you've got some kind of connection, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's a lot of hopping around. It's basically the equivalent of different times and places in the DC Comics history with someone with a remote control just going next as you're just hopping around. Very difficult to keep up with. I have a bit of a simpler one. A simpler time.
Okay.
Pepperidge Farm remembers a simpler time when we just fought the Red Scare.
Okay.
Do you remember those guys? The Russians, when we didn't like them? I don't think we're getting along very well right now, but there used to be a time where we really didn't like them. Every single movie, the Russians were up to something sneaky. And
now there's 3 or 4 basic ethnic minorities we can be mad at.
yeah, I mean, it used to be just the Russians. We just hated the Russians with every fiber of our being. I don't know. They were doing stuff behind a curtain.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. You don't hide behind curtains. Everyone's going to talk bad about you if you hide behind a curtain. If I did that, if I walked into your home, Brian, and just hid behind a curtain, you'd start talking some crap about me, I think.
Thank goodness Rocky finally ended communism by punching a guy.
You got your revenge. You got your revenge. You stole my punchline before I could get to it. You finally got one, Brian. Woo! You got one.
USA.
Well, this time I'm covering Convergence Action Comics #1, and we're dealing with the pre-crisis Earth 2 Metropolis. You know how last week we dealt with pre-crisis Metropolis? And we had Superman and Supergirl and all those characters flying around?
Sure.
Now we're dealing with the Earth 2 version of those characters. It's the older ones.
Okay.
It's Superman with the gray hair.
Okay, gotcha.
You have Power Girl flying around and stuff. It's very much the kind of the pre-crisis, a couple years advanced. It's just the older versions of the characters. That was their Earth 2.
The older guy who will sacrifice himself in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Exactly. And
then eventually show back up again in Infinite Crisis.
And we're not even going to waste any time. The dome is already down. They've been living in the dome. And it's Superman and Lois Lane. And Superman came out to the public and went, hey, guys, I'm in here with you. You don't worry about a thing. We're just going to hang out. And as soon as this whole dome thing gets sorted out, I'll take care of everything. No need to panic anyone. And everyone's like, that's super cool. And they're just coming up to him in the park like, hey, Superman, how's it going? He's like, hey, guys, about to go get some hot dogs. You want to join me? Yeah, let's go get some hot dogs. Woo!
That's actually a nice solution. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it was a great little thing.
With all the dark, like dystopian dome situations we're getting, it's nice to have a happy one.
It's honestly a really good thing, especially when I get to Detective Comics next, where we have this perverse mirror of exactly that, pretty much. But anyway, they're just kind of having a peaceful little life and having a good old time, him and Lois Lane. Another Kryptonian, though, is not having as easy a time. She is and she isn't, and that's Power Girl. She is there living in Metropolis with them, and she's actually hooked up with her, back in the past, late 70s, on and again, off again, romantic partner, a gentleman by the name of Andrew Vinson. He has like 12 issues to his name, but he was a love interest for Power Girl in the late 70s. And I was like, man, Justin Gray's digging into the well there and like, you come on up to the front.
Yeah, really.
I mean, playing the Price is Right music where it's come on down. And he gets to come on down and he's cooking dinner because Lois and Superman are coming over. And Power Girl's having such a rough time. Remember last week when we were talking about everything was on point for the time period? As far as clothes and technology and stuff like that. They do this as well in here, late 70s, early 80s, and she's in the full jazzercise aerobics because she has to keep working out because, her metabolism isn't super anymore. Oh my God, I got bags under my eyes. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I have to go to the dentist. Oh, this not having powers thing is horrible. Again, a nice little touch for the character. I mean, as far as the things that would be her trials and tribulations being without her powers, I thought it was pretty cute. But both Superman and Lois come over for dinner, and they're sitting down. They're having a nice dinner when obviously conversation shifts over to the dome and what they can do about it. Superman and Power Girl start, hashing out their plans maybe. And Lois has just had enough. Guys, can't we just sit down? We've been here for a year. Let's just enjoy a meal without talking about the stupid dome. It's the first time we've all been able to just lead our lives like normal people. Let's just enjoy it. They keep talking about it. She gets angry and kind of storms off. Now, on the opposite side of this, in another city, a city by the name of Moscow, we are talking about the Red Sun version over there.
Yeah.
And it is the Russian. It was a one-shot story where Superman landed in Russia instead of landing in America, and he has worked underneath Stalin and is doing all of these things, and Stalin is there. We're dealing at the same point. We're about a year in, and he is meeting with his advisors, who are Superman and Wonder Woman, both well under the allegiance of Russia at this point. And also Lex Luthor is there, who is an American CIA agent who got caught under the dome with his wife Lois Lane, which is kind of weird to me that every single time we get a mirror image Superman, it's always Lex and Lois are together, it seems. At least a lot of the time, it seems like that's how it plays out. It's just something I noticed with this one. I didn't realize that was how that worked out over there as well.
I think there's a lot of cases of just like Lex being a romantic rival to Superman with Lois as well.
I would almost prefer that. I think
that happened in the cartoon a little bit too.
It did a little bit, but I think it's the really just blatantly evil Lex Luthor doesn't really get my jollies there.
Yeah.
I think it's that nuanced Lex that we're starting to see a little bit more of in the Justice League modern current day, now that he's joined the Justice League, and then the Azzarello Man of Steel, where it was all focused on Lex Luthor. That was really good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Just nuanced. I prefer that a lot more. Layered. But he is a complete D-bag, and he just keeps making fun of Stalin. And you don't poke a Stalin bear. You just don't poke the Stalin bear. And even Superman after the meeting is like, Lex, dude, I've been keeping you alive for the last year. You keep poking Stalin. He is a very angry man. He has no problems with killing off people. I would think you would understand this. He's Stalin. He will murder you. And that's unfortunately when the dome falls and both of them look up into the night sky as they see their opposites up in the sky. Superman sees the older Superman from Earth 2 Metropolis, and then that one sees the Russian, obviously the hammer and sickle chest piece there. Is like, man, that's weird. We should go talk to each other. And that's where we're going to pick up on the next one. Honestly, this one, when I first read it, didn't really strike me that good. I was just kind of like, okay, we're dealing with they're under the dome falls, they're going to go fight people. Yeah, I think it had the unfair advantage of being in the fourth week after we've literally covered that premise 35 times. Second time I read through it, picked up a lot more of the subtleties and the layers of the story, and it felt so much better on the second one. So I actually have in my notes a kind of okay, if you like that time frame on the second read, it's actually a pretty good one. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So maybe it was my mood on the first one, or maybe it was just needed a little bit of percolation up in my head, and then now it reads a little bit better for me.
Okay.
But the one that I actually preferred between these two is Convergence Detective Comics #1, which is also dealing with Moscow Red Sun and also dealing with pre-crisis Earth 2 Metropolis. Here's where this one differs a little bit, though. Instead of talking about, we're living under the dome, okay, now the dome falls and we're going to go fight each other, this one actually leads us through like little snapshots of what happened in each one of these two cities over the course of the year. And this is kind of what I was talking about with that dark mirror of the Action Comics, where we saw the Earth 2 pre-crisis Superman came out into the open and was like, hey guys, I'm in here with you. We're all in it together. We're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. No one panic or anything like that. Well, over here in the Moscow Red Sun one, it's all of these theatrics and propaganda and Stalin just pushing these things out there like, hey guys, let's set up a whole bunch of cables, make it look like Superman can still fly and everything, and he's perfectly fine. And they're just like, vroom, vroom, whoosh. And they're doing
flying saucers are attacking.
Yeah, no. Hey, isn't that a paper plate? No, it is a flying saucer. Let me use my...
Why are there firecrackers going off inside the paper plates? It's a heat vision.
But they're also using this, another couple months go by, the people are getting restless again, and then they come out and do this big press conference where Stalin makes Superman say, don't worry everyone, I actually built the domes over all of the cities of Russia. There's nukes were being launched and I wanted to protect Great Mother Russia. I'll take them down once it's safe. Everyone's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all these lies and deceit and just trickery to keep the people in line instead of just coming out and being like, hey guys, 2 thumbs up, let's go get hot dogs. Woohoo! Which I thought was a nice little dichotomy between the two. But
Soviet Russia, dome covers you.
Exactly. But as the people lay on the cusp of revolution, they're about to just completely storm the castle and kick them out of the Kremlin. The dome falls and all the confused citizens are like, what's this Telos guy talking about, Superman? Thought you said you built the domes and to protect us from stuff, and now I see all these other cities and we're not even on Earth, and I don't think you were being 100% honest there, Red Sun Superman. Uh-oh. Boy, is my face red.
Oh.
Now in the other city, over in pre-crisis Earth 2 Metropolis, we get the post-Batman death, because I assume the Earth 2 Batman died. I actually looked it up. He did die at some point. And we're following Dick Grayson and Huntress over there, who are basically picking up the slack. They were coming to Metropolis for a JSA meeting. We'll talk about them a little bit later. I split up this stuff a little bit. And they get trapped under the dome, and the entire time they're there, it's basically Huntress trying to convince Dick Grayson to take on the mantle of Batman, but he won't do it. There was one Batman, I will never be able to live up to that, but he kind of incorporates some of Batman's costume into his own, so he has like a Batman thing with a little yellow cape on the back. It's the classic mixture that he did at that time, but it's very much so I am not worthy of taking on that mantle. I'm just gonna do me. I can do me, and we'll still protect the city. And it's them.
Tyler Perry's I can do Batman all by myself.
No. In this case, he's going to do me. And eventually, the dome falls after they've had this argument back and forth a couple times. And when the dome falls, they end up getting teleported in the Batmobile straight over to Moscow with the Red Sun Superman flying there. And both of them assume the worst, so they immediately shoot missiles at this communist Superman. They're like, "Commie Superman? Surely that's evil!" And they shoot missiles at him. And Red Sun Superman's like, "Guys, I was just going to say maybe we should have a conversation. You know, talk it out. Hey, bros, how's it going?" And, of course, Dick Grayson, all about that conversation.
I brought this fuzzy hat as a peace offering.
Yes, I brought you a bear as well, but don't poke the bear.
Nope.
Because it's Stalin in the bear suit. He'll get very angry. But in this case, Dick agrees they should talk. Helena Wayne, not so much a debater, not willing to really give up much. Tries to run over Red Sun Superman with the Batmobile as they're out there talking. And Dick Grayson's like, "No, stop it, Helena." And even Red Sun Superman's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow your jets there, lady." And he picks up the card. He's like, "Let's go back to your friend and have a nice little conversation." And that's when she goes, "No, I won't let you win." And presses the self-destruct button on the car and blows up with him and with Red Sun Superman and herself. And I'm like, lady, that's not how you really debate points of view here. You don't just go, "Hey, this guy is like completely not living into the stereotype that I thought he was, so I'm just gonna blow up now." And I'm like, hey. Even Dick Grayson's like, "Oh, well, this is gonna put a damper on conversation, isn't it?" So that's where we end with Helena Wayne exploding in a car with Red Sun Superman carrying it. And it's again, I like the fact that they covered the year, and I like that perverse reflection of the Supermans there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And the U.S. and Russia at that time frame. I thought it was a subtle thing. If you wouldn't have read both, you wouldn't have really picked up on the back and forth there. But it really played out well just in the way I read them, because I read action first and then I read detective after, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I kind of like that a lot. I think that might be why when I went back and read action again, it read so much better. Yeah. Because I had that to play off of it against as well, and maybe that was obviously planned at least. And it
always
it
read in alphabetical order is the lesson we should learn from this.
I always read things in alphabetical order. I have to now. I have to. That's gonna be really hard. Actually, it's gonna take me like an hour to be like, well, A, B, C. Okay, B goes here. Batman. A, B, C, D. Oh, Demon Knights go here. But that's it for the first half. Brian, what do you have coming up for round 2?
Okay, Convergence, Crime Syndicate.
Crime Syndicate?
Convergence.
With all the creepy heads on the cover.
Yeah.
Old school floaty heads. Ooh.
Yeah. Convergence Shazam and Convergence Infinity Inc.
And I have Convergence Plastic Man, Convergence JSA, and I'll wrap it up with a little Convergence World's Finest. So hold on a couple seconds. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will go through those books.
we have returned.
Telos, my boy.
Well,
How's it
hello
going?
there, Sean. How are you?
Every week you've been popping in.
Yes, I have been.
Where's Brian? He's been waiting to meet you too. Oh man.
Oh, don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. Just checking in with my favorite podcast.
Yes,
you know.
yes. How's the converging?
Oh, the converging is going very well. You know, I just love pitting cities from different times and places against each other, and then just easing back into my lounge chair and with a big bowl of popcorn.
Oh, nice. I prefer a bowl of cereal myself, like some Frosted Flakes or something.
You see, I know you like your cereal, but you understand, my popcorn can come from anywhere in time and space.
Oh, man.
Thanks to my powers.
So I have to ask, what is the ultimate popcorn then?
Well,
throughout time and space.
Do you remember that brightly colored Pop Secret from the late 90s?
The brightly like the popcorn itself is brightly colored?
The Pop Quiz popcorn where you didn't know what color it was and you'd pop it in the microwave and you'd open up and, oh my goodness, look at this. I don't know what color it is, but now I know. It's a joy. Except I always know that it's purple because I use my powers to predetermine it so it can match my... whatever this thing is I have on my chest.
I think it's a chest plate of some sort. You also have some plants growing on your arm.
I suppose.
Why don't you just grow some popcorn on you?
How do you know I'm not?
Oh! Telos, you're so sneaky.
Oh, well, I've got to go watch another one of my death matches. Telos away!
Oh, man, that Telos guy, I swear, he's the best.
Hey, Sean, how's it going? Was that a sleepy Lorne Michaels I just heard in this room?
No, that was Telos.
Oh, Telos, I missed him again.
You really got to quit taking those bathroom breaks, man.
I got to.
Right after break.
Actually, I was just taking a nap is what I was doing.
Honestly, I'm not too surprised, but let's get back on track. I'm so happy, Telos.
Yeah.
I can't wait till next week. He's really just bringing in really the deep questions that I think a lot of listeners really want to know about that character.
Yes.
So, what do you got coming up for us right now?
I've got Convergence Crime Syndicate #1.
Floaty heads!
Floaty heads with another owl head on top of it.
Yes.
I love classic Owlman.
That is his actual design from back in the day, is it?
Yep.
Wow, and he was a bad guy. He was supposed to strike fear in the hearts of the Justice League.
Yep.
I guess if you look at it, Batman does just have like a creepy little bat ear head on his.
But it covers up his face. This is not covering up
True.
anything at all.
It is just a head on
I put an
head.
owl on my head. This is how I will strike fear into the hearts of the good people
Mice.
yes. So we enter on Superwoman, the evil Lois Lane of Earth 3, or at least currently whatever Earth it was back in the day, about to go to the electric chair for her crimes, and the underdomed, powerless crime syndicate is planning
It's a jailbreak.
Planning a Flash Rogue style breakout.
Yeah.
With
machine guns.
Machine guns and being comically inept. I love it.
We're going to run across the courtyard and bust her out. We can't possibly make it across the courtyard in the amount of time you're giving us. We'll run faster then, and then we'll shoot people. Yeah.
And
then, to get away!
And then under another dome, Justice Legion A of DC 1 million fame is sad because Owl Woman is dead and Lincoln Luthor and the Luthorians are trying to take over the Dome City by seizing the control of the power supply.
So this is DC 1 million. There was Lex Luthor clones or just a bunch of people in Lex Luthor armor?
I'm not
like
quite
an
sure.
army?
This must be taken from one of the, because I remember reading just a couple of the one-shots and like the overarching story, but I know that every single book in the line had a DC 1 million tie-in.
Gotcha.
This might be taken from one of the more obscure ones.
Okay, gotcha.
That I don't recall off the top of my head. And I could not afford the gigantic brick omnibus that they put out, so...
Cheapskate.
I know. So the crime syndicate fails miserably trying to save Superwoman.
Yep, she gets fried in the chair. But who stops them?
The Rogue Hunters.
Yeah!
The super police Flash Rogues from Earth 3. Love them.
Quite. Mm-hmm.
Lois Lane is dead. Sad Owl Man is sad. If only his owl head on top of his head could mimic his expression so we could have two sad heads on top of each other. But, I just slapped a stuffed owl head on my head. Oh, well.
Didn't think that one through.
One day they'll get the animatronic technology to be able to do this.
Right, and then I'll have to spend, like, hours coding so you could be like, sad owl face.
Well, they've got those, like, anime cat ears that move around based on your emotions, right? Or
Do they?
Claim...
Do they? Because they just kind of move.
I'm pretty sure that they're not lying to anyone.
No.
Crime Syndicate, they get put into shackles. Over in the 1 Million Dome, Batman 1 Million and Superman 1 Million are fighting over what to do with the Luthorians, and then the domes come down, and we literally just see the last page. There's going to be Justice Legion A against the Crime Syndicate next issue.
That's a weird matchup.
Yeah.
As far as really
retro
old
and
school,
most futuristic.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's the whole point, yeah.
I'm sure it is. It was still just a weird matchup whatsoever. Were the old Crime Syndicate, like, really evil? Or were they just kind of like slapstick evil, like the old rogues?
You know, it was a little... it was before my time. This isn't that I really don't have much of a basis for. I know the Grant Morrison Earth 2...
those guys were evil.
Shot. Those guys were super evil.
Yeah, they were evil.
And that was like
bone.
a reimagined version of them. So I don't.
But I just can't think a guy with a stuffed owl on his head is going to really be that evil. I mean, unless it's an actual owl that he kills every morning in like some brutal way, and then just sticks it on his head, like I murdered this today, and you're next. That could be a little bit more. I can
see that. Yeah,
I mean, I can see that too, but I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he went into a KB Toys or a Children's Palace or whatever was around in this time frame and just
Kitty City?
Yeah, maybe. Lionel Kitty City. God, I remember that shit. And just lops off a stuffed owl head. And
that jingle is still forever seared into my brain.
So let's
turn that frown upside down.
If you think you're retro, they're what, 60s-ish maybe?
I believe so.
So let's go back even more in mine, which is Convergence Plastic Man, because we're dealing with Earth X. Not because it's extreme, but because the Nazis won. The Nazis won World War II, Brian.
Man, what an odd concept for someone to explore.
No one has ever gone down this path. Ever. Sliders. Because that's the one you immediately jump to when you think of who best encapsulated if the Nazis won World War II. It's Slider.
Yes.
But Earth X, the Nazis have won the war, and they've taken New York City as their own. And we know this because they put a giant Nazi eagle on the torch of the Statue of Liberty, and then just someone had a giant swastika stencil that they just put all over everything. All over the statue, all over buildings, all over signs. Honestly, if you want to know how this Lex Luthor made his millions on Earth X, it's making swastika stencils, because they had to be just selling like hotcakes here on Earth X. Everything has a swastika on it. You're just like, Jesus! Guys, tone down the symbolism here, or the symbology, or whatever you would call it. We get it. You won. Good job. Jeez. But
if only a rogue symbologist could help take down this Nazi swastika.
A resistance has sprung up, though, and that's Plastic Man and the Freedom Fighters. People such as Doll Man, Human Bomb, The Ray, Phantom Lady, Black Condor, and, of course, Uncle Sam himself. A muscle-bound caricature of Uncle Sam who draws his power from the patriotism of America. Whew! Surprised he doesn't get more play. So surprised. But they want to strike a real blow against the Nazis. They've been scrubbing swastikas off of things and punching Nazis every now and again. But they want to really have like something that shows that they are a real resistance. And they keep hearing stories about this ultimate, like this Ubermensch of the Nazi party, who is this guy by the name of the Silver Ghost. He's a super villain that works with the Nazis and goes around enforcing all their will. And they're like, okay, well, we'll do a whole bunch of antics until they send him. We'll kill him. And that'll really send shockwaves through the Nazi community. Shockwaves through the Nazi community. So they strap the commandant of the city to a Zeppelin and shove hot dogs up his butt. Not joking. Quite literally, that's what they do. All American Frankfurters right up the poop chute. And And that they go, the Nazis, the only recourse they can have is send in the Silver Ghost. So they send him in on a plane. Why are you laughing at this? This is some serious exploration of Nazi America right here. Serious exploration. So have you just tapped out? Yeah, just done.
I'm sorry. Something about that last statement just broke me. So don't mind me. Carry on.
Okay, well, Plastic Man's going to be the one to strike the killing blow onto the Silver Ghost, but just as he does so, the dome falls, they all lose their powers, and they fall down to the ground. Silver Ghost escapes, and they're stuck leading a resistance without any powers. And even since they're cut off in Nazi New York City, Uncle Sam, there's no American patriotism there. He gets all old and grizzled, and I remember when the American patriotism was strong, but it's not there anymore, so I'm just going to eat my applesauce over here.
Man, back around 2000, Superman split into Superman Red and Superman Blue, but really, that should have been when Uncle Sam split into Uncle Sam Red and Uncle Sam Blue, shouldn't have been.
Ooh, look at you.
Ooh.
Going political there.
Yeah.
Man. Mind blown.
Yeah.
They hold on as long as they can without powers. It's not very long. It's about a year, give or take a day. And they end up getting locked up in the slammer by the Nazis. Actually, Plastic Man is forced to go back to a life of crime just to eat. And he's all sad about it because he was going to be a superhero. He had turned over a new leaf, but now he can't because he needs to steal food for people. And they end up about to be hung. And just before they do, the dome comes down. They get their powers back. And as they're stepping out, things look really, really bad because it is the Silver Ghost. He gets his powers back, and he's now in charge of the city itself. So it's basically, here's how it ends, actually. Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters over here with Plastic Man, they're like, yeah! And with Nazi Party over here with Silver Ghost, they're like, ooh, we're all gonna fight each other. And then it says, and next week we're gonna throw Future's End Spider Bots on top of it, just to see what happens.
Okay.
So I guess a three-way battle. I don't know if they're going to end up working together because the Spider Bots ain't no one to scoff at.
No.
They have already killed many Earths in this Convergence thing. They have been like the scrubbing
We've had to pay
bubbles.
Simon and Garfunkel so much money.
No. They are the scrubbing bubbles of Convergence right now. They just kind of come in and just destroy up Earth and continue on their way.
But they look so adorable.
They do look so adorable. So it was old school. It was definitely old school. I really liked the way that they played off of Plastic Man's whole thing about how, because it was him doing the narration throughout the story, obviously, and it's all him about having to revert back to being a thief and everything along those lines. And you have to admit, there's some slapstick humor in there, so, haha.
There was something, all right.
Shoving hot dogs up orifices. Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, go America. Yeah, punch Hitler in the jaw, shove a hot dog up his butt. Just cuz. Don't you remember this?
Let's go on to Convergence Shazam #1.
America. It's like the battle of old school here.
Yes, very much
because
so.
I think you're going to take it even old schoolier.
Oh my God.
At least with the style of this book.
I love this so much. Oh, Jeff Parker and Doc Shane are just knocking it out of the park. So Billy Batson of Wiz Radio is trying to keep the domed Fawcett City, the old Captain Marvel city from the Fawcett Comics universe. He is trying to keep them calm as they face the fact that the domes are about to fall. In this dome, I guess Telos showed up early and said, hey everyone, just so you know, I'm going to let you know early, the domes are going to be coming down in, maybe a week or so.
Pencil this in for next Wednesday around noonish.
I've got to make this announcement at every single dome. You guys were first on the list, so you're just going to have to wait a little bit.
Obviously, he doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't go by alphabetical order.
Nope.
Shazam, way down at the bottom there. Not cool. Not cool. That's why
you see, when you're going alphanumerically, he has them listed as Earth S, and so that's before all of the Earth numbers. So that's why it happens.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's Earth S, and then Earth X, and so on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm following him.
He's got his own filing system, but it makes sense to him. It helps him do it.
Okay.
That's why he can't bring in any replacements or get a temp.
Fair
You
enough.
have to explain everything.
Fair enough. I would love to see the Telos summer temp, though.
Some crazy guy tries to suicide bomb City Hall, but Bullet Man and Bullet Girl are on the scene, somehow still with their powers. I hope they just get, launched out of cannons with a very specific trajectory, like they did back in the day.
Maybe Telos is giving them the 411 on what's going to happen, since he's already showing up early and telling secrets and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Bullet Man and Bullet Girl, you're going to want to shoot off that direction around 1204.
But you got to wait, like 1204, like 0.5, so you hit the right headwind, so you can twist and turn to grab him as you then fly away afterwards.
Good luck, Godspeed.
Yes.
Their superpower is really good at telling time.
They're super good at tank wars, if computers existed in that time period. So Billy and Mary Batson and their buddy Freddie Freeman then try to tail their friends, Uncle Dudley and Sterling Morris, who are acting all shady and having secret meetings.
Ooh. Are they in a cult? Are they in an angel cult?
Well, they're going to find out. So they follow them to a subway tunnel, only to get accosted by giant robot Mr. Adam, who I love his design so much, who is working with genius Viking caveman King Kull.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Who are also working for IBAC and Dr. Savannah, who were disguised as Dudley and Sterling without their powers and are holding the real ones captive.
Ooh.
Talkie Tawny, the talking tiger, shows up, and then suddenly the dome comes down. Everyone gets their powers back, there's a big brawl, and it just looks amazeballs. They then suddenly, as everything starts to settle, they get attacked by the Gotham by Gaslight Zeppelins.
Well, because you need Zeppelins and a lot of clock towers. I mean, you can't really have a fight without clock towers if you're Gotham by Gaslight. Maybe Cannon Man and Cannon Girl will go over there and be like, look at all these timepieces. Holy crap, we're going to be the best heroes ever.
There's gears everywhere. This is great.
We can build cannons out of everything.
Tiny ones glued to top hats. This is amazing.
What exactly does that functionality have there? What do the gears on the hats do?
So much, Sean.
They just
so much.
really, that's top of the line head protection right there.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, see? Yeah. I can do this pun thing. I'm down with it.
Okay.
I'm going to start bringing my sunglasses. I'm going to marathon some CSI and just be ready to rock and roll.
Just hashtag deal with it all day long. Huh?
All day long.
Yes.
But tonally, holy cow.
This was gorgeous. I really shortchanged it because I want you to go out and buy it because it's fantastic.
Yes, it was fun. It was a love letter. The artwork was very much a kitschy, I want to say.
I don't know. Doc Shaner's freaking amazing.
No, I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's like it was of its time, but with a sly wink at the same time.
But it's still so modern. Like, good Lord, he's amazing with facial expressions.
Yes.
The Mary Marvel, or whatever her name, Mary Batson or whatever, she has the best faces in this book. It is hilarious. Like, she just makes so many just like, welp, look at this situation at the camera. It's great. Yep. It's so good. I bought an extra copy specifically for my son.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I have a feeling he will love this.
Good. I can see why people like that version and were a little miffed at the New 52 Shazam. At the same time, I think the New 52 Shazam has a lot more storytelling opportunities than this one. Mind you, my history with this one is very, very limited. It's very, very limited. So I obviously not speaking with all of the facts at hand, but this one kind of felt like I can see why people dig this. I can see why they would miss this type of
the fun, lighthearted,
maybe
outlandish supervillains and crazy plots, and just good guys being good guys.
But you could still do that. You could be playing Xbox with Cyborg, and then they can go have to fight something weird and goofy, and Cyborg could just be yelling "Booyah" all the time, and it'll be fun.
But yeah, if they just wanted to, get Parker and Shaner to do a continuing Shazam series, I would certainly just throw money at them.
There's a line for Shazam now. Everyone wants Jeff Johns and now Jeff Parker. It's a line.
Yep.
He's a hot commodity. Now, if The Rock's attached to it, everyone wants a piece of Shazam.
Everyone wants a piece of the Rock of eternity.
I see what you did. So next up, I have JSA, Convergence Justice Society of America. I had to stop myself because I almost said it incorrectly. Where the Dome has cut off the powers of the JSA. It's the core members, at least. It's Alan Scott, a.k.a. Green Lantern, Jay Garrick, a.k.a. The Flash, Dr. Fate, and Hawkman. And it's the OG versions of these characters, the older gentlemen that have been doing this for a long, long time, kind of Golden Age era. And as soon as the dome fell, they were cut off from their powers, and unfortunately, that was kind of staving off the steady march of time as well. Their powers were helping to compensate for it, and they have rather rapidly, I don't want to say degenerated, but aged quickly. They're old men now. They have arthritis. They're having back problems. Oh man, the Flash's knees are killing him. Every single time he tries to go upstairs. Just, so bad. And in this case, Kent, the Dr. Fate, the guy that was underneath it there, he is in a coma. He aged so fast, so quickly. He's in a coma in the hospital, and every single day they come and visit him in the hospital, and they talk about, I remember the good old days when we were out there doing things, and we were doing our part. I think our time has passed. The kids are out there now. All the kids of Infinity Inc., they're doing their thing, full of sound and fury, energy, and poor decision-making skills. They're really trying to crack that dome, but, man, I don't think they're going to do it. But you got to give them credit for trying. It's exactly what we would have done when we were younger and we were in their shoes. So it's kind of fun to watch it from our angle here as well. They also have some conversations where Silver Scarab is visiting his dad, Hawkman, and is going, hey guys, can we expect you guys to help us out? We're going to crack the dome today. We got some laser cannons set up. We got some stuff going on. Today's going to be the day, and once it drops, you're going to be there to help us out, right? And they're like, yeah. I mean, as long as there's not very many stairs, we'll be there to give you a hand. He's like, cool, and he goes off to talk to Infinity Inc. and everything. As they're there having their conversation, that's when they get a call from Alan Scott that says, oh my God, guys, Dr. Fate woke up from his coma. You got to get to the hospital quickly. I don't know how much longer he has, but he's awake right now. Get over here. And they all rush over there, and they arrive just in time as the dome falls, and a giant Quardian robot starts smashing through the city. Roar! Smash, smash, smash. And as they're all going, oh crap, what are we going to do, guys? I don't think we have it in us. Our powers are back, but we're still old, and I don't know if our bodies can actually take it. And that's when Dr. Fate sits up and he goes, guys, I can give us our youth back, but you have to realize it's going to be it. We're going to burn brightly, and then that's going to be the last of us here. So I'm not going to make that decision for you. I want you guys to do it, but if you want, we can go out one last time and save the city. And then it cuts out to the robot smashing through the street, and then out of the front door of the hospital, it's all four of them, younger and super powered up, and they're all just like, one last time, guys. Let's go out there and do it. Which is so nice at the end, because it's so meta as far as this is their last hurrah of these versions of these characters going out there, and you're just like, man, you got me. You got me good. And it's such a great thing where it's that you feel the literal passing of the baton to the kids. Like, okay, next gen, we're putting it on you. We're going out in our own way, burning bright, just saving the day. This is our last charge, so we're leaving it up to you kids. Hope you know what you're doing.
Well, now we're going to move on to Convergence Infinity number 1, where we learn they do not know what they're doing.
No, they don't.
At all.
They are full of that energy and poor decision-making skills, so go to it, Infinity Inc.
Yeah, so Infinity Inc., they're the...
From my touching issue to your debauchery. And
So Infinity Inc. are the children of the Justice Society of Earth 2. The Silver Scarab, Fury, Nuclon, Northwind the Birdman, Jade and Obsidian, and they're all living in pre-crisis Earth 2 Metropolis. Dealing with living under the dome.
By going to a play.
Yeah, but it's more of a World War II, like Victory Garden, everyone pulling together in a time of need kind of atmosphere.
Okay.
Because of the old-timiness, you know.
Sure. They
Just
were the
Society's there. We've sure. So Jade and Obsidian are dealing with the fact that their dad, Alan Scott, is not being in their lives or coming to see their play that they're in. Certainly,
could you imagine community theater under a dome? Like, this is all you have. You have to come watch our community theater.
Oh, and I love the fact that it's like, oh my God, they're doing The Tempest again. Yes, I get the parallels to our lives.
Yes. Even Bane's in the back, like, symbolism, I get it, guys!
Yes. Yeah, and I do like, now the fact that I didn't read your issues, and I realized, he was off seeing his friend who just woke up from a coma. That's why he didn't go see your dumb play.
Yep.
There, Jade. Obsidian is dealing with being hilariously bad at being gay in secret. in the old-timey world.
Yes.
And everyone's just like, we know, we don't care. We see your boyfriend there. He's like, no, he's just my friend. Are you sure? With that cut-off shirt, are you sure? We're totally okay with it.
Protest too much. Is that a Shakespeare joke because we're at the Tempest? Really, dude?
Yep. Yeah, so, Jade is also trying to help their other teammate, Brainwave Jr., who is the son of a supervillain and also a fall-down drunk.
Yes. But he has reasons, legitimate reasons, because after the dome fell, his mind powers are all weird and he just gets shooting migraines incessantly to a blinding effect, so he just drinks himself into oblivion to try to stop it.
Yeah.
It's not like you can run down to the drugstore when you live under a dome and pick up some Midol or something to deal with your brain cramps.
Okay. So there's an almost sexual assault, some angst, but then the domes come down and they are greeted by Hex, who I guess was in the future, and when Jonah Hex went to the future and became just Hex because it's more extreme. He had
extreme.
I guess yes. He had a team of similarly time displaced warriors with him. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
like
either.
It's got like a future ninja and a future Viking and that old trope, a giant flying humanoid manta ray.
Of course.
You know.
No team is complete without a giant flying humanoid manta ray.
Yep. So they're gonna fight. Yeah. And Sean, you promised me a robot horse.
I assumed I saw
did not
future
see
Hex.
a robot horse here, Sean.
Maybe next issue you got another
I
one.
looked at some very pretty pictures, but I was promised a robot horse.
This was your closest shot to getting a robot horse.
No.
So this is probably the only shot you're going to get to Hex on a robot horse.
Yeah.
So
No.
you take what you get and cross your fingers and hope for the next issue. Maybe you'll ride off on that flying robot horse.
This is okay. It obviously probably would have been better if I'd have read that Justice Society issue.
Yeah,
But even then, I would have killed for just one page where everyone was standing around and have nameplates next to them.
That would have helped. That would have,
because like everything.
well, they had the
like
images of their superhero counterparts at the beginning when they were standing behind the curtain at the play. There was like little ghost versions of their superheroes.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know half of these people.
I don't know who this bird person is at all.
So it would have been nice if some of them had names. Half of them I knew. Obviously, I know like Jade, Obsidian, Brainwave Jr., and but I think they said his name before he showed up.
Yeah.
Like, let's go see Brainwave Jr. And then the next panel, he's like,
the son of Brainwave. It's like, well, we kind of figured that one, but thank you for explaining that part as well.
Naming conventions, they are so hard. Yes, that would have been nice at the beginning, but I think you go into the whole, at least I do, and I'm horrible about it, what I call Legion of Superheroes syndrome. When I see a bunch of nameplates all over the place, my brain just shuts down, where I'm just like, too many characters.
Everyone kept using their alter egos and real names and stuff. I'm like, I still don't know who that is and who that's related to.
Sure.
They kind of explained it in the 2-page thing in the back, but still.
Yeah, mine was the jumping in headfirst into Legion, and it was stuff like the New 52 run of Legion of Superheroes where they just threw like the entire team in the first issue, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of guys and gals, and they're all named Lad or Lady or Lass, and sure, go that way, guys. So next up and last for this one, we have World's Finest, Convergence World's Finest, number 1. We're dealing also with that Earth 2 Metropolis, that pre-crisis Earth 2 Metropolis, where this is happening right as the Crisis on Infinite Earths is hitting. And it's the 7 Soldiers of Victory. Not the 7 soldiers that Brian and I are always talking about.
No.
Not the Morrison one that we read and absolutely adored. This is a few years back on the clock. Few years back. So we're dealing with characters like Vigilante, who is kind of like Hex. He's a cowboy, at least, or a modern day cowboy.
He is kind of like a time displaced cowboy, just not as futuristic. He's just like, he's living in modern times.
Yeah, and he rides a motorcycle.
1950s modern times.
Or in this case, as the crisis is hitting, he's riding a rhinoceros that escaped from the jail, or from the zoo, because, Brian, rhinoceroses are water horses. That's what their name means. So he can ride it. It's a horse. It's a water horse.
Excuse me. I've been waiting for this one for years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like a rhino cowboy.
Okay,
bum,
wow.
bum.
Wow. You really have a rainy day fund up there in your brain, don't you? Someday, someone's going to talk about riding a rhinoceros with a cowboy on it, and I'm ready to go.
Oh, there's a threadless design I never submitted.
But there's another character we're following here, but we have a bunch of other ones. We'll talk about him here in a little bit. A character by the name of Scribbly Gibbet, who was...
Man!
Yeah, this is like an old school character. I'm assuming you know who this is, or at least...
I heard that he was going to be showing up, and I thought I was going to be reading this one.
Okay.
And I saw it was some just sort of like random funny comic that got kind of the creator just sort of brought to DC, and it became a DC character because of that.
Okay.
And it's just like old-timey, a kid whose drawings come to life or something like that?
Well, in this case, he's just underneath the dome, so he just draws cartoons for the local newspaper.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So, I mean, he's kind of he does the comic strip for the local paper and then does reporting on the side. He's kind of a fanboy of the Seven Soldiers of Victory. He always follows their work and writes stories for him to the point that he's always in danger, and the Seven Soldiers are like, dude, just stand 100 yards back and write the story or draw your picture or whatever you're doing. Who names their kid Scribbly? I mean,
we know what we want him to do later in life. We're just going to call him his name.
But in this case...
You've got to start planning early. You got to find the right daycare. You got to give him a name based on his future occupation.
I had no idea. Did Telos show up and spoil it for him? He's going to scribble a lot. You should probably call him something like Scribbly or something. I don't know. Yeah. I have popcorn to make. Out of the way. But by the way, he makes popcorn. I know you weren't here for that. So,
yeah.
During this whole battle that's going on, Scribbly Gibbet gets picked up by a pterodactyl because all of time and space is collapsing during the crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's being carried off, and an old school Green Arrow, straight up Robin Hood with Speedy are like, we'll help you, and they're running along a rooftop and they're shooting arrows at the pterodactyl, eventually knocking him free, and as he's falling, just as an earthquake hits, the building that both Green Arrow and Speedy are standing on collapses, and they're falling as well. And they're like, no, we're gonna die until Shining Knight comes swooping in on his flying Pegasus named Victory and snags up Scribbly. And he's like, what about Green Arrow and Speedy? He's like, civilians first, teammates second. And then we look back to see Green Arrow and Speedy are dead.
Oh.
And both the horse and Shining Knight shed a single tear. It's like, God damn, that's cold. And it's just right at that moment that the dome falls and their city is pulled into this stasis, pretty much. All of the weird stuff disappears. The city is in generally good repair all of a sudden, and they just go, okay, I guess we live here now. But just like we saw with JSA, as soon as the magic is cut off from Shining Knight, he becomes an old dude with just like this shabby, nicked up sword, and Victory as Pegasus just becomes a normal old, like, farm horse, and they're just living in the park like, we used to be heroes, not anymore. Vigilante's having a field day. He was just a cowboy with a six-shooter. He's like, yeah, business as usual for me. I'm out there doing my thing.
Pew, pew, pew.
The dome stuff isn't going so well, though, for everyone, because without medication, Stripesy dies of pneumonia.
Oh, my God. Holy crap, what's happening in this one?
That is so bleak. That is just so bleak.
Oh, man, if only they could fight Bleak Michael.
Come
on, Telos, it's right there.
Stripesy was the adult sidekick to the child Star-Spangled Kid, right? That's how this whole thing worked out. Yeah, he caught pneumonia and died, and they're all at the funeral like, man, didn't see him dying to pneumonia. This is really kind of bleak all of a sudden. I was really hoping this is going to be a good time. We're hanging out with a guy named Scribbly. I thought, good times were coming up in here. No, not at all. Not at all. I guess you could say he was striped of his dignity.
Oh.
But the dome falls right at that moment, and Telos shows up much like he did at the other one just before it falls, like, hey guys, I'm going to drop the dome here in like 5. Just wanted to pop in and say, hey, Shining Knight, big fan. Love your work, man. You're like the oldest person here, so I want to kind of really see if your experience holds up against the youth and poor decision-making skills of other people out there. So I gotta say, keep my eye on you, man. I got a bowl of popcorn just for you, bud.
Yep. And I also appreciate the fact that you appear to be covered in liquid metal.
It's kind of my thing. I like it. But as he drops the dome, Scribbly Gibbet goes, I'm gonna come along with, I wanna help avenge our friends that have died, and he jumps on and Shining Knight dubs him as Squire, and they all go flying off, and then it does like this jump cut to 5 minutes later with this giant explosion, and it just has Scribbly going, and that's when I pretty much figured out I was gonna die.
So in the next issue, where are you going with, like, 3 soldiers of victory?
Yes, just we might have a yeoman of victory left around the corner here. Let me see what I got. Man bats. That's all I got.
2
Sorry.
soldiers of tictory.
Poor Stripesy, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's like it's so many people just dying sad deaths, and it's just like, oh man, this is not the jovial fun time I was signing on for. I thought this was gonna be kind of goofy and weird and just playing off the 7 soldiers thing. But they've always been a tragic team, haven't they? Hasn't that always been their thing? They failed incessantly all the time. And that was why when Morrison picked them up, it was this team always gets together, but they always lose. And that's why the 7th time's a charm. We're going to get out there and win this time.
It's possible, or maybe that's why they couldn't meet each other or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember something like that where they were a team of failure and losing all the time. And this was going to be it, the 7th try with 7 soldiers. And that 7 was always the magic number and blah, 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 blah. Going off on a completely different book now. But it was fun. It was of its time. I mean, when you're pulling out characters like that, whew. That's some weird stuff going on. That is a introduction to the oddities of the DCU is the best way to put it, where you're just like, okay, I didn't even know these characters were in your stable. I knew Vigilante from Justice League Unlimited, but he used to hang out up on the Watchtower all the time.
Yeah, him and Shining Knight they would get paired off and have like little feature episodes every now and again.
Yeah, I mean they
had that 7 Soldiers tribute episode where all the people who were at the parade that were mad that Superman didn't come to the parade got to appreciate the 7 Soldiers of Victory.
That's right. It's right. You appreciate us. But that's it. That's all of our books for this week. Kind of a off week for us as far as our knowledge because we're way back before our time. At least mine. I mean, mine goes back 3 years. Yeah. So this is like archaic. This is blowing dust off of tomes and opening scrolls for me time period. We're talking like 30 years plus. So it's like, okay, let me see what the old Wikipedias can do to help me out here. And you at least have some link to a lot of these characters.
Even then, sometimes it's like the rewritten new continuity versions of the characters where it's like, oh, they came back from death and now they're young because of time.
Yes. But as a reminder, you guys go out there and buy these books. We're not saying all of them. We're not saying go buy an event because it's an event. If anything, we're the first people to tell you don't buy things because you feel obligated to buy them. I'm saying that during the spot where I ask you to buy books for good reason. If it's interesting to you, if it sounds like it's something that's right up your wheelhouse, if it's characters that you haven't read in years, decades in a lot of these cases this week, that maybe it tickles a nostalgia bone or something like that, check it out. Give it a shot. If you don't buy it, it's not going to be sticking around long term, but maybe it'll spark some interest in someone down the line. They go, wow, that Shining Knight book sold a lot better than I would have thought it would have. Maybe we'll bring him back and see what we can do with them. You never know. I mean, it's your one shot to support the character at the very least if it's someone you love.
Yeah.
So
buy that Shazam book, everybody.
Well, yeah, I know you're just going to be like, buy Shazam and and the main event book actually did pick up. So if you fell off in the first couple issues because it was treading water or you felt it wasn't really getting to anything, this issue kind of started to turn that around where we have some forward momentum, and I have a feeling it's going to do that whole I think I can ramp up towards the end from here. We've got all of the setup and all the pieces are in place out of the way, and now they can move forward.
We've hit the top of the peak of the roller coaster, all down.
All downhill like a negative
I suppose, yeah.
It's all downhill from
But
here.
when it's downhill from there, in a roller coaster, it's cool because it's fun because it gets to go up and down again.
So
and
it's a positive
Maybe
down.
it'll go through a tunnel or maybe a hammer turn.
Ooh, spooky. Yeah. Any inversions?
Maybe.
Oh, man. How did you not jump on a Convergence joke?
Oh, inversions. I see what you did there.
Man, you're the worst. Sleepy Brian sucks. But let's talk about next week's books. But before we do, there is going to be a mini episode that comes out after this. There were a couple books that came out from the tailovers for the New 52, kind of a transitional period into the stuff that's going to be happening after Convergence. It's a basically ending point for a lot of stuff, beginning point for a couple other things. We split that off into a separate little mini thing so that we're not mixing things together. If you just want to follow
getting the New
Convergence.
52 peanut butter in our Convergence chocolate.
Exactly. So that way,
no one would like that.
If you're avoiding the Convergence stuff and you wanted to just kind of wrap up the New 52 stuff or pick up the main line from there, that mini-sode will do you good. If you just want to do the Convergence stuff, obviously you just listen to this episode. So,
yeah.
Or if you want both, they'll both be there. We're giving you options here. Options. But next week, we go back into Convergence because we had Convergence number 5, honestly, with a rampaging Triceratops on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was like, hey, Triceratops, you're one of my favorites next to an armadillo. Or whatever that one was called.
Ankylosaur?
Ankylosaur, that's the one I was looking for, yeah. Convergence Batgirl number 2 with Gorilla Grodd and really bad Tim Drake that hopefully will get some turnaround, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe be a little bit more fun. Convergence Batman and Robin number 2. Convergence Harley Quinn number 2, where she's off to fight Captain Carrot, and it looks like they're having a carrot fight for whatever reason. Convergence Justice League number 2 with all the gals of the Justice League off on their adventures. Convergence Nightwing and Oracle, looks like a wedding. Looks like a wedding is in order there. Convergence Speed Force number 2. Let's pull our kids into this. Why not?
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's like Static Cling. They just follow me wherever I go. It's really weird. Convergence Superman number 2. Lois is going into labor, Brian.
Is she stuck in an elevator while it's happening?
No. Looks like she's going to be in the Batmobile on the way to the hospital, though.
Very good.
Convergence The Atom number 2. Really curious to see where that one goes.
Yeah.
Convergence The Question number 2, and last but not least, Convergence Titans number 2. So make sure you check those out next week, and we will go through those books. Brian, if they do want to contact us, we will get a little bit more time so that people can get in their questions for Convergence. Where would they be able to find us?
The internet.
Yes, as your business card
so
eloquently puts, find us on the internet. Mm-hmm. That is your business card.
Yep.
Very, very good. I was actually going to comment that when you put it on Facebook, where I was like, that's what you do when I give you money to go put together a marketing thing. Mm-hmm. I swear, man. Never again will I trust you with marketing fun. I joke. He paid for it himself. But Brian, do you have anything before you take off?
No, I am
tapped out.
Yeah, I'm a word that comes at the end of a sentence.
Okay. So for all of us here, or at least me, Brian's already dead. Enjoy your books, enjoy your week, enjoy your lives, and we will talk to you next week.